I hope to be able to work with Joe to move him in a more progressive direction. And in order to defeat Trump, he's going to have to bring new people into his political world, and that he's going to have to listen to their needs, young people, working people.
There you got one-time Democratic frontrunner Bernie Sanders dropping out of the race apparently yesterday, but he's still vowing to influence his party by staying on the ballot. Here's a reaction from former White House press secretary and Fox News contributor Sarah Sanders. Sarah, what is Bernie doing exactly? You know, he's staying on the ballot. He's keeping his delegates. What's he up to?
Look, I think Bernie Sanders has this illusion that he can move his party further to the left. The reality is Joe Biden has already done that. He's already adopted a lot of Bernie's far left extremist views, and the Democrat Party has moved to the left. The contrast right now is between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. That is the choice Americans have to make. And I think that there is no question that they're going to move towards Donald Trump, particularly if you look at what's happening right now. You have President Trump, who is taking strong actions that are saving lives and American jobs, while you have Joe Biden, who is misleading and dividing the American people. There's no wonder that the polls are all showing that people trust the president more to handle the coronavirus and the economy. They want a strong leader, not a tired career politician like Joe Biden, and they have that in Donald Trump.
Well, you know, and over the last month, the whole political world has changed because the politicians can't be out and about. I mean, people don't want to go out into an arena or a rope line to meet a candidate anymore because, you know, it's just too dangerous to your personal health, as we have heard the public health officials say. So Joe Biden is Skyping from his basement, and then you've got the president every afternoon, like clockwork, in the 5 or 6 o'clock hour. He takes the podium and he gives America an update on what the administration is doing. Sometimes it runs an hour, sometimes it runs 2 hours. How effective is this?
I think the polling is showing that it's very effective. Look, at the end of the day, the liberal media is never going to give the president a fair shake. They're just not. So he's going around them, which drives them even crazier than a normal day in the Trump White House. And he's speaking directly to the American people. He's providing them with information and updates that is crucial to everyday life right now in America. And he's showing what a leader looks like. And in contrast, you have Joe Biden hiding in his basement bunker, who looks like he's not even sure that he's running for president some days. I think that the contrast is working very well for the president, and he should continue doing exactly what he does best, and that's going straight to the American people and delivering his message himself right there every afternoon.
Yeah, you know, we're going to get the weekly jobless numbers here in about 8 minutes. It's not going to be good because so many people have been furloughed or laid off or things like that. But when you look at what the administration is doing, you know, there's a story in the Washington Post today about how apparently a second coronavirus task force is about to be launched. It sounds like Mark Meadows might actually head it up. And it's going to be a combination of administration officials and people from the business world to try to figure out how to open America back up for business. And you know, the business world would like to get cracking, but at the same time, you've got the health people saying, we got to take this slow or you're going to have a spike and we're going to be back in the rabbit hole.
Look, I think so far the president's done exactly the right thing. He's been making decisions based on the data in front of him. He's taking information from both the healthcare professionals like Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx, as well as economic advisors. And one of the things that I learned from watching the president is he is masterful at taking in a lot of information from a lot of different places and making a decision. I think that's what's made him a good and effective leader, particularly during this time of crisis. We're seeing him do that every day, and I think we're going to continue to see him do that and make the best decisions possible to protect American lives, but also protect the American economy. He's done a good job of that, and I think he'll continue to take in that information from both sides and make good decisions.
All right. Sarah, thank you very much for joining us on this Thursday.
You bet. Thank you, Steve.